All right, hello and welcome. Today I'd like to go over how I recreated this cinematic shot in Unreal Engine in under 8 hours using almost entirely free assets found on the FAB Marketplace. With that said, let's get right into it. All right, so I'm going to start out with my reference here and just try to find my camera. I'm adjusting the crop settings, the placement, roughly setting it to get a good idea of where the camera will be. Next, I'm going to start cleaning out the project. So anything, any blueprints that I don't want to deal with, any extra geometry, really just culling out anything and everything that I can to make it as simple as possible. Then I'll add a few lights, temporary lights. These act as, in this stage, kind of a working light. I'll go through and just double check any of the rendering features and settings, turning all of this up to the highest quality. I'm just looking to do like a portfolio render, so I'm not too worried about performance. I really want the highest quality. All right, so again, just adjusting the walls to get my composition, pulling them in tighter to match the reference, removing things, adding things, constructing the T-junction for the hallway. So with the lights that I have right now, or the light meshes, I'm just seeing, if I can use them to get what I want. But ultimately, I think I'll end up using something else. So again, just more filling out the scene, checking the composition, the camera locations of those lights as they pertain to the other reference. All right, so since I adjusted the hallway, I'm just adjusting some of the decals. I think I'll eventually remove those, but yeah. Here, I'm trying to match the color of the walls. This part can be quite difficult, right? Because you're looking at that final reference piece. It's got the lighting. The lighting will have a temperature to it. It's got a color grade. The color grade will have a temperature to it. So I'm really trying to understand what the base color value of these walls would be in, pure white fluorescent light. Then I'll, add the color through temperature of the lights that I place, and then color grading that I'll do. But it's a back and forth balance for sure, and that will last throughout the project. As I notice something, I'll go and adjust the light, adjust the temperature of the light, and then adjust the base color of the material, and just do that dance repeatedly. So here I'm just building out some of the piping that is in the reference. Again, using what I have. Maybe I don't have specific pieces that are exact, but I'll try to use anything that is in the pack and modify it, scale it, duplicate it, adjust it to get what I need out of it. So placing elements on the wall where there are elements in the reference, again, whether it's exactly the same thing or just to get an idea or the same sense and feel of what's in the reference, is all I'm really trying to achieve. And with these strips, you can see I'm scaling them, extending them, not too worried if they're only 3 meters long, not needing to duplicate them every 3 meters, rather I can probably get away with scaling it up and down a bit to get it to match my needs. So again here, duplicating the material, making a white variant of the pipes here to match the reference. Again, using what I can, shoving things in, intersecting them. Again, the feel is more important to me than an exact look, right? Because if I had to go and model specific pipe connectors, that's just going to take a lot of time. So there I just pulled up a swatch from the reference, again, just to try to match the color of that wall, and it'll be a continued process. I'll do it over and over and over again all throughout the process until I finally lock it in towards the end. So as I've made something like that group of piping, I'll duplicate that or combine it, group it, so I can move it and use it in different places. Again, just checking the composition, looking at my reference, seeing what details are next. So I believe this part I'm seeing, these, there's a grid pattern on the wall. So again, just taking anything I can and scaling it to get that grid pattern. And grabbing some decals. I like to add large decals to get to help break up variation in the wall. I try to be as subtle as possible as well. Subtlety goes a long way. All right, some more filling out the space, making some minor adjustments, moving any of those floor decals around as I move them, move the wall so now they no longer line up. So I'm just grabbing a poster decal. Again, there's something like this in the reference. I can't see it exactly, but again, it's the look, the placement, and the feel that I'm trying to match. Some more large decals crossing over multiple meshes to get some nice subtle breakup. So here I'm looking for something. Looks like I'm opening up the derelict corridor from Megascans. I'm going to grab some of these pipe cable assets and just bring them in to help fill up my scene. So I always download any of the free stuff, any of the monthly marketplace content. I always scour through it, usually grab all the free stuff. You never know when there's going to be a piece in there that'll just, help you speed up your workflow. Anything that you don't have to recreate is going to be a huge time saver. So it's always good to, whenever there's new stuff, especially from Epic or Megascans, always download that stuff, go through it, make mental notes of the things that are in there. So you just have that mental note to say, hey, when you're like, oh, I need some cables. Oh, weren't there cables in that one project? So there you saw me scaling down the pipe, and what I'm doing there is just using that same asset that's the pipe, but scaling it down to make it look like a connector piece. So here I'm just laying out assets. There are some things in the project. Here I'm trying. There's a fan in the reference, and I'm trying to take shapes and just connect them together to make the idea of a fan. It's not going to be very a focal point, so I'll try to get, again, just that look and feel. I don't remember if I keep that in there or not. I may get rid of it, use something else. But again, here for those floor pieces, there's an angled mesh that I just took and scaled, and that's gonna use that. Okay, yeah, so again, another project. This is the Sci-Fi Volume 1 pack that was free at some point. Looks like they've got a like a work light on a tripod that I'll probably use there. Okay, so here's a pack that I purchased. It's called Public Hallway, and it has these drop ceiling tiles. Again, something very simple to make, but I'm not going to waste my time making this when I know that I've got it in a pack. And yeah, I'm just adjusting the scale here to match the reference. They've got these, this square thing going on in the ceiling, so just trying to replicate that. And even these square lights here I end up using, which fit nicely in the paneling, which again is also in my reference. And the other thing that this allows, there's these horizontal darker lines that I'll be able to duplicate a material and change that material darker so I can again replicate what's in my reference. All right, so in that sci-fi pack, there's also this like fabric material. So I'm just creating a material here where I use this pattern, so I can tile it and rotate it to get those diamond shapes in there. And then I think I multiply another normal map on here to get like a rippling effect. So looks like I'm gonna have to UV that. Okay, so here I'm just laying the two on in Photoshop and kind of outlining the shape of the hallway so I can adjust my camera, right? And you'll see the red was like, I don't know if it was the reference, and the blue was mine. So again, here I'm just giving guides, and I'm gonna overlay these so I can get kind of a better idea whether I have to adjust the focal length, move the camera up or down, left or right, and then tilt the camera forward or back. So here I'm taking the pillar and I'm just going to soften, round the edges out. And I needed to UV it anyways because the UVs, the seam was there on the edge, and I want this fabric to wrap around. It always sucks trying to model off of assets that are triangulated, but this piece was simple enough. And honestly, I probably should have just remodeled it using the asset from the pack as a guide. But again, I'm trying to make the fastest decisions that I can, and eventually you go down the wrong path, and once you're done, you realize, hey, I probably should have just done this. So as you repeat that process, you'll obviously get better at it. Want to build a AAA quality Unreal Engine portfolio piece in just 5 days? In this live sprint, I'll guide you step by step from a blank scene to a polished environment ready for your portfolio. You'll learn the same workflow used by professional environment artists, covering blockout, modeling, materials, decals, detailing, and cinematic lighting. By the end, you'll have a completed portfolio piece and a repeatable system you can use to build future projects faster. Stop getting stuck in endless tutorials and start creating work that gets you noticed. Link in the description below. All right, so here we go. I've got this. They're looking pretty clean. So again, I'm gonna look for that normal map, some type of a noise, a wave. The engine usually has a lot here, and there you can see I'm taking it and rotating it, and I'll scale it up so I can get big ripples. All of the pillars though are gonna have the same shape to them. I could try to, I don't know, what could I do? I could triplanar it, and that way they would all have different sections, or I could move the UVs over and make a couple variants of the pillar. That way I could rotate it, flip it, and try to break that up. But I ended up just modifying the normal map in such a way that it was subtle enough to give the effect of, a rippling fabric, without having to do that. Again, I'm always trying to make these decisions on speed. So here I am adjusting the lighting, looking at my reference. You'll see me grab PureRef, kick out a screenshot, bring it into PureRef, put them side by side, and then create a black and white version. The black and white version allows me to really focus on the highlights and the shadows, which is really helpful. So here, just adding more subtle detail, adding this little, edge damage. Instead of doing like a vertex blend or anything, I've just got these little meshes with the alpha cutout that were in this pack, and I'll use those. Okay, duplicating that grid pattern along with the edge damage meshes. Doing some placement, grabbing a bunch of decals, and again, just adding them in places, making them really subtle, just to break up the repetitiveness and just to give, some nice detail. You can see I always start strong with the detail and then, dial it back essentially to nothing, and then just creep it up until it just starts to break up the light. Doing some color adjustments. Adjusting looks like probably the roughness on that poster. I think I'll come back and do some more adjusting on that in the closer to the end. With these scenes, I really am focusing on the shot. So you could see there I was adding the piping, and I bent it around the corner, but I didn't continue around the corner. So again, just focusing on the main thing. If I don't have to build out stuff, I'm not going to. Again, this is for a shot. And that's the nice thing about this stuff here. All right, so here I'm putting my reference next to my camera and doing some color adjustments, doing some color grading, highlights, shadows, trying to saturation, desaturation, trying to adjust to match. You can see I'm pretty far off at this point. Again, this is iterative. But just giving it a shot, putting it away, coming back, doing it again. And there you can see now I've dialed in the light a bit more, and I'm coming back to adjust the material colors. I definitely don't nail the lighting and the color grading. I think my shadows are probably too bright in the end, but I could get pretty close. All right, so here there's some balloons in the reference. So I'm looking for something that looks similar, looks close, that's free, that I can adjust. So there's a red, a blue, a yellow, maybe a white, and then a string. I end up looking for a string, like a ribbon, because it's like these balloons where there's like 10 balloons. There's a bunch on strings, and they were tied to the wall, and obviously they at one point had helium but then deflated. I end up taking the cables and just scaling them down, and placing them there. So here I'm adding post-process materials to do things like vignettes. I think there's film grain, barrel distortion, just adding some of those filmic effects. Getting closer. I'm definitely more desaturated, but just coming back with some detail tweaks. Here I go, placing it in pure ref, putting it side by side with the reference, and adding, creating the grayscale variants. So I think these are the last final tweaks here, just closer to the camera, trying to get some more of the rust effect, and again using what I have. Yep, so here in the reference there's a a detail pattern on the floor. Some more just final tweaks, looking at it side by side, seeing what I'm missing, assessing what's the biggest bang for the buck, making some adjustments. Oh, here's the door is high. It's like an elevator door type thing. I bring this into Maya. I try to make some adjustments. It doesn't end up working out well because the adjustments I made really mess with the material that's applied to this. It's unfortunate that this door had a specific texture that was UV'd. For me, I try to use tiling materials as often as possible, because those are obviously the most versatile. Obviously, the drawback is you don't get the amount of detail, but here we are, really close to the final. Again, just placing it side by side, kicking out a path trace version, and that's that. Overall, this took me 8 hours. This is obviously sped up to 2,000 times, but in one work day, something like that can be achieved. So looking at the final against the reference in color and grayscale, I do see that I need a bit more saturation and more contrast. But overall, again, one work day, pretty happy with it. All right, so that wraps it up. If you have any comments or questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, and have a great day.